Right, moving on with a check on the top headlines in the French papers of the day. I'm joined here in the studio for that by Clément Bonnereau. Hi there, Clément.
Hi, Kath.
You're going to start us off with a part of France that many people outside of France don't realise is part of France. It's quite a distant territory in South America, French Guiana, and there is a lot going on there right now.
Well, that's right. The protests have been going on for weeks, but they've only just recently caught the headlines. And today the strikes in French Guiana are on the front pages of several newspapers. Let's start with Catholic daily La Croix. The headline reads, Guyane, les raisons de la colère. It's a reference to John Steinbeck's classic novel, The Grapes of Wrath, which in French translates as Les raisins de la colère. La Croix then goes on to analyse the root causes of the unrest in Guyana. These include a very high crime rate, much higher than in metropolitan France, and of course, economic and social issues.
And like I said, a part of France that we don't really talk about very much. Some of the papers pinpointing the top reasons for the protests and the strike.
That's right. Le Monde gives us a couple of key figures to understand what's going on in the overseas department, and it's easy to understand why people there are so frustrated. We read that, for example, 12% of young people have a high school diploma, the baccalaureate. Unemployment stands at 22%, more than double the national average. Food is also, on average, 45% more expensive in French Guiana than it is in the rest of the country.
And healthcare, also an issue, apparently.
That's right. Plans to privatise the main hospital in Kourou, that's the largest city in French Guiana, have sparked anger, as communist paper L'Humanité tells us. Healthcare in the overseas department is reportedly poor. Child mortality is 4 times higher than in metropolitan France, and tens of thousands of people, especially in remote villages or remote areas, simply have no access to basic medicine.
A situation that we can't imagine saying for a region that's attached to mainland France, can we? I'm sure we'll be following that story for several days to come. We'll move on right now, though, to politics, the presidential campaign. Clément, we've been reporting that the wife of the Conservative candidate François Fillon is going to be appearing before judges today. We're talking about Penelope Fillon.
That's right. You can see the front page of Aujourd'hui en France, Le Parisien. The headline reads, the Penelope mystery face-to-face with judges. Penelope Fillon will be questioned about allegations that she was paid €500,000 for a fake job as her husband's parliamentary assistant. She's facing a number of charges, including fraud and misuse of public funds. And crucially, unlike her husband, if he's elected, she will not have presidential immunity.
Indeed, and the stakes are very high for François Fillon. Just a couple of months ago, we were talking about him as being the likely next president. He's now a relatively distant third in the polls.
That's right, and the fake job scandal isn't the only scandal that's engulfed him. He's also suspected of employing his children when they were still at university. He's also come under fire for accepting gifts from a rich businessman and receiving money to organise meetings between a Lebanese billionaire and Russian President Vladimir Putin. François Fillon has adopted a very offensive strategy to respond to these accusations. He's accused President François Hollande of orchestrating leaks to the press and of spreading false rumours about him. Aujourd'hui en France, Le Parisien says it's a risky strategy, but he doesn't really have much of a choice.
Indeed, the two candidates ahead of him in the polls. We've got Marine Le Pen from the National Front, Emmanuel Macron, who's independent with his own party. So we're really seeing the main traditional parties left in disarray, aren't we? Things not looking great on the left, and that's in the papers as well today.
That's right. 2 candidates are running on the left. You've got centrist Emmanuel Macron, who's a former economy minister. He says he's independent and a centrist, and the socialist candidate Benoît Hamon. You can see it on the front page of Le Figaro. Their rivalry could lead to no less than the breakdown of the Socialist Party, which has been the main left-wing party in France for more than 40 years.
All right, what are the reasons then, according to Le Figaro?
Well, Hamon is really struggling to unite people behind his candidacy. He's been criticised by fellow socialists for being too utopian. Meanwhile, key figures of the Socialist Party in including members of the cabinet, have rallied behind Emmanuel Macron.
And we can see the former Prime Minister there, Manuel Valls, on that picture. What are they saying about him?
Well, there were rumours he would throw his support behind Emmanuel Macron, but it's well known that the two men are not the best of friends, to say the least. Valls positioned himself as the candidate of the modern left, and you can say that, in a sense, Emmanuel Macron took the spotlight away from him. So he's a bit hesitant as to which candidate he should throw his support behind.
Indeed, and less than a month to go now till that first poll. Thanks so much, Clément Bonnereau.